Order the 2025 Special Magistrate Proceedings for the City of Daytona Beach. At the outset, I've reviewed and approved March 11, 2025 minutes. Do we have any announcements before I proceed with the hearing of cases?
We have a compliance on page 2. Case number 1, SMG 04-25-65 is in compliance 4/7/25. Page number 4, case number 10, SMG 03-25-50 will be appearing via Zoom. And I believe that would be it.
All right, well, all those representatives for the City of Daytona Beach will be testifying at this morning's proceedings. Please stand and be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a case out of order. We're going to go to case number 19. Sonora Properties, LLC. Is there anyone here for the respondent? Yes, sir. If you would please state your name and be sworn.
State your name.
William Norm.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? Thank you.
All right, this matter is here for the imposition of a fine, so let's hear from our inspector.
Inspector Itani, Code Compliance, your credentials are on file. Respondent was first notified on May 25th, 2024. Since the March hearing, I have had contact with the owner. The property was inspected by the building inspector Garcia, and he issued a stop work order because the owner was working outside the scope of his permit. The last inspection was April 4th, 2025, and the result was non-compliance. Stacker recommends a fine of about $200 a day with a cap of $15,000.
Okay, what's the nature of the non-compliance?
So he was working outside of the scope of his permit. So the siding was completely down, and he replaced it without a permit. The porch was also done without a permit. And then when the building inspector went in to inspect for the permits, he discovered that there was other things going on without permits.
Okay, well, what was he allowed to do with the permits that he had?
He was supposed to do the exterior wall and the porch.
In the porch?
Yes, sir.
And those were two of the things you found him working on?
Well, when the building inspector is here, he could speak more on that, but when the building inspector went in, he saw that he was working way outside that permit. when he went in to inspect the things that he applied for a permit for.
Okay, so he had a permit to work on the exterior,
Yes,
and he was doing work on the exterior.
yes,
He had a permit to work on the porch,
yes,
and he was working on the porch.
correct.
So what was he doing that was way outside the permit?
When he went in to inspect the wall in the porch, they discovered that he was doing more work than what he applied for.
And what was the more work?
I would not be able to speak. I would ask the building inspector to talk
Well,
on
if you
that.
need somebody to talk about it, then bring him up here, because I'm not going to find the person right now on the basis of what I've been told. What I've heard so far was that he was working on a permit, and I hear he went way outside, but I don't understand what way outside means.
How you doing? Alexander Garcia, Permits and Licensing. So I was the inspector that was sent out that day to do the inspection. According to the permit, he was supposed to be replacing some decking on the porch and siding on the back side of the house. Before going out to do the inspection, I reviewed the photos that had been uploaded by the code official. And through images on Google Earth, I saw that that house previously had windows where the siding was installed. So my issue with the inspection is that they covered up those windows, and I was unable to inspect the framing that was performed to close the windows, being that it was one of the outside walls. There's a certain amount of structural integrity involved with that work. And that's when I asked the homeowner if I could enter the premises to see the framing that was done on the back side of that siding. That's what was done beyond the scope of his work. Initially, he led me to believe that all that was done was replacing some rotten siding. But after a little bit of conversation, the issue with the window came up, and then once I was inside the property, if you can see from the photos, they framed the entire back wall. They removed flooring, subflooring, and who knows if they worked on the trusses underneath that subflooring. And it also looks like they installed a new door on that wall, which was not part of the original scope, that photo right there.
What was the original problem with the back wall to begin with? The exterior siding?
Well, originally that's what was cited, was that he was doing work without a permit. He installed that siding without a permit. Nobody knew that he had closed up those windows.
Okay, so he what? He just covered up some pre-existing windows?
So there were windows on that back wall right there, and he removed the windows, framed the wall, and then put siding, which had it only been a siding replacement, he would have been well within his scope. But the fact that he removed those windows and reframed that wall is what the issue is.
Okay, well, before I get to him, you two need to help me understand this, because I'm looking at the original notice of violation, and he was cited for exterior walls, rotting wood. Okay, I assume it would take a fair amount of work to take care of rotting wood, depending on where it is, of course. Exterior structure, stair, deck, porch, balcony, damaged porch, exterior structure, insect screens, damaged screens. I understand doing away with the windows. How much more of what you saw would necessarily have to have been done, based upon your familiarity with the property, given the nature of the original notice of violation? Because what I'm wanting to know is how he's violated the notice of violation.
So
You don't have to explain the windows again, I understand that.
yeah, so I can't speak to the extent of the damage that was there. So I don't know how bad that wood rot was. But from what I was led to believe, it was just siding that needed to be replaced, which is what I went out there to inspect. And that's when I came to the realization that it was more than just siding that had been done.
Okay. All right, and the amount of the fine that you were looking for was what again?
$200 a day with a cap of 15,000.
All right, is it Mr. Panora?
Yes, sir.
All right, what's going on? First off, you were cited for doing work without a permit to begin with. So I would think you'd be a little cautious about not trying to do that twice. So, according to our inspector, you've done a lot more work than you had indicated you were going to have to do. Why was that?
Well, the original issue with the violation was the trash, the wood rot, the windows. I did those. Unfortunately, when she started asking about the wood rot, she wanted a permit for the wood rot. And so I had to get a permit, but when I was trying to fix the wood rot, we realized that window is completely rotten. It was not a window at all. It was a broken window that just completely just started eating, getting tore up by the rain. Framing was just not good. So there's no way I could have fixed the wood rot, the siding, without reframing. That being said, I am trying to get out of the violations, only working on the exterior. I haven't even touched the inside. If you look at the photos, the drywall's still there, the bathroom is still there, the electrical's still there, the plumbing's still there. All of that is walled in. And yes, I know it looks messy, but that's because I didn't get a dumpster. I got other issues than that house, like right now in my life, you know what I mean? I wanted to get out of the violations of the exterior. That house, I was not planning on continuing inside until I was properly in the position financially and everything else. Now, when the inspector came, he said he wanted to see inside. I talked to him. I said, well, it's a mess. There's things in there. He said, I don't care about the mess. I just want to look at the framing. And so, same. I said, okay, well, if you want to just look at the framing, look at it, but please don't judge the rest. And he said, I won't. And now I see all these multiple pictures that he took. So now I feel like he is judging me. But the truth is that I did everything in the violation. I cleared the grass. I cleaned it. You can see the exterior. I put a brand new roof. That roof was expensive. I did everything she wanted. I fixed the windows. I fixed everything. And I am going to get the permits. I talked to the lady, Kimberly. She told me, hey, Will, don't close the permit. The best thing you can do right now is add to it. We want to see drywall framing onto the permit with cabinets, baseboards, and painting. You fall under a new program about the elevations. So she said, we have to keep a close monitor at what you're gonna do on the property. So we will be taking pictures and seeing what you fix on the property, because in the new flood zone, it's a special treatment flood zone, and we have to see exactly what you're gonna do on the property. So she's checking me, they're checking me. I can't breathe, to be honest. I need time, but I'm trying to make everybody happy, but I'm getting attacked by both ways now.
Okay, so what do you think he needs in the way of a permit to be rid of the notion that he's working without a permit? He obviously has a permit. You're telling me he went beyond his permit. So if you know, what more does he need in the way of a permit so we can start moving forward here?
Well, I believe his permit is on hold right now with the building department because he was working outside the scope of his. I would also like to mention that he did all of the work without permits. The original violation was the exterior rotting and the damaged porch. And he completed those things. I told him to get permits for these things, and he completed those things without a permit, which is how Mr. Garcia got involved to begin with. because he was working outside the permit for the roof. And then he went to the porch and the exterior wall. So he never got permits for that until March, when he came to court for the first time. March 6th is when he applied for this first permit, and the work was already complete.
Okay, so what, put your hand down. So what does he need in addition to the permit that he has in order to bring this property into compliance? Or does he just need to get a permit?
He needs,
So he would need to just add on to the scope. He already has that permit, so just like Kimberly said, if he were to just go throughout the scope and add all the details of everything else that needs to be done in the home, that would include framing for that wall. If he did any work on the subfloor, which it looks like that subfloor was removed, that needs framing inspection as well. Window and door butt for that door. If there's any electrical or plumbing along that wall, electrical and plumbing as well. He will be replacing the drywall, but as long as there's no showers along that wall, he doesn't need a drywall screw inspection. So it's just adding a couple of details onto the scope, which is what I told him initially. He's better off doing this the right way the first time so that he doesn't get violations or any more fees attached to this property, which is why initially I told him I needed to see the inside so that I can verify that the framing was done correctly or incorrectly, which at that point is when this all kind of escalated. But if you were to just add these details onto his scope of work and go through the proper inspections, he should be good.
Any reason we can't do that?
Of course we can. Of course. I'm here to do the right thing. I just need time.
Slow down, okay? You did a lot of work without permits. It looks to me like you went way beyond what you were cited for to begin with. Now, it's possible that once you remove siding, you found all kinds of rot, and I understand that leads you, I understand when that happens, the dominoes start falling. But at the same time, you don't get to just do it on your own on a tear. Now, so you are now looking for a supplemental permit to cover the things he's talking about?
Adding on to the same permit. They said don't close the permit, Will. That's
All
perfect.
right, I understand that. So where are you in that process right now?
Oh, my GC is on vacation right now. He comes back tomorrow, actually.
Okay.
So as
who's
soon
your
as he comes
general
back-
Contractor.
Steve Bowie.
Okay. So when he comes back, we what, trot him down here to get our permit
Add
added
on.
to?
Yes.
All right. And how long do we expect that to take?
For the add-on or the project?
Apparently getting the permit
Yeah.
takes care of a lot of the problems.
I'm
'cause
assuming that's a
apparently you
one
just-
day. I'm assuming that's a 1 day thing. I'm assuming. We're just adding on to the permit.
Okay, I know nobody can predict for me what's going to happen in the permit department, wherever that may be, but is adding on to this permit a relatively simple matter? Or is this a thing that's going to take months and months and months?
It's a revision to his already existing permit. Once he states the scope of his work, then the plan reviewers will tell him what they need from him. If they need some sort of drawing showing exactly what he's planning on doing, or in this case, what he already did. And once they review that, I can't say how long the planning process may take, but it's not something that'll go past a week or two, I would believe. Definitely not months and months.
And right now, you have a stop work order out there. So I assume you're doing no work right now.
No.
And
No,
you
I can't-
understand you will not be doing any work
No.
until this
there's no point.
permit matter is resolved.
I agree. I did get a permit for the roof. I want everybody to know that. You know, the roof was completely replaced with permit.
Okay.
I keep getting notions like I did that illegal as well. You know, the permit department didn't know. Apparently she didn't know. She's saying I didn't get a permit.
I don't care.
Okay.
I got a house that's in disarray. I want it fixed. I want it fixed as fast as possible and legally. And if that doesn't happen, then I guess I just start fining you. So I'm going to amend our current order of noncompliance. So once he has a permit, is he in compliance with this notice of violation?
He would have to finalize the permit.
Finalize the permit, which that doesn't happen, I assume, until all the construction's over.
Correct.
So this is going to remain open for a while.
Yes.
Once you have your permit, do you have a guesstimate as to how long it's going to take you to finish the house?
Like the gentleman said, it could take months because it depends on what they require. The original violation was wood rot, but now she wants, Kimberly wants me to completely extend the scope and add the whole interior now.
Well,
These are
it looks to me
two
like
separate
you were pretty
projects.
much doing the interior anyway, weren't you?
No, I was not. I had to do that framing. It was
Okay, I
very
understand
rotted.
framing. Now you're talking the interior. Did you reframe the interior of the house?
No.
So the
if you look-
framing you're talking about is to the
Ju-
exterior.
Just that window section, that the gentleman was
Okay.
talking about. That's the only framing.
Well, I'm assuming you just
Right-
need
right
to
here.
focus your permit on completion of the exterior task that you were given here to begin with.
Kimberly said no.
Kimberly said no.
I said, can I close just this permit? And she said, no. The best thing you can do is add on to the scope and do the whole thing well.
Do the whole thing. What is the whole thing?
The painting, the cabinets, the baseboards. Interior doors, probably.
All right, well, I'm going to amend our current order of noncompliance to allow the respondent until the next cutoff, which is May 7, 2025, have whatever permit is required for you to come into compliance. Okay? Now, that's what I'm ordering you to do. And if you don't do that, then you'll be returned to the special magistrate, that would be me, for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Now, before I throw you into the cauldron we call administrative land, if you aren't able to get that permit for any reason, and you're facing a fine, make sure you're back here explaining to me why you didn't get the permit. The only permit I'm interested in is what is absolutely necessary for you to come into compliance, and these two people over here are going to be the most knowledgeable persons regarding what you need for that. So that's the permit I'm requiring you to obtain. If for some reason you're unable to get that permit because the city wants you to do a bunch of other stuff, then you let me know, because I may have to give you time to come into compliance if that's the case. But for now, I'm dealing with this. They told you what you need. You go get it. You've got until May 7th to get it, or else be back here to explain why. And when you're explaining why, none of your answers better involve A, you doing any work there until that stop work order is lifted, and B, you're going to make sure that what you do is for the sake of coming into compliance. And if you are unable to do so, then make sure you're able to explain to me why. And if other people are throwing other requirements that are in there that are throwing a wrench into the works, then I'll take that into consideration. My objective is to get this house back in shape ASAP, or find the bejeebies out of you until that happens. What?
I may, just for the gentleman to know, once he gets the permit, before any inspections are called in, by building code, he will need to remove all that construction debris from the property before inspections are performed.
Construction debris
All that demolition debris that he has.
inside the house?
Correct.
All right, well, he's got to do that anyway. Okay, we got a game plan?
We got a game plan.
All right, and again, get that permit, get your contractor at work, and make sure you let these people know what you're doing. And, once you've got this buttoned up, you can go about getting whatever it is you need to do, whatever other remodeling you may have in mind. My focus is this notice of violation right here. And, okay, enough said. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Case number 2, 601 Butler Boulevard, LLC. Is there anyone here for the respondent?
Mr. Pacalja?
Yes.
I'm sorry, we have an attorney on case number 3. He's appearing via Zoom and he has court. Can we call number 3 first?
Bear with me for 1 second. Case number 3, Sunshine Ventures and Management LLC.
And Judge, just for the record, this is Dennis Bayer for the respondent. My court hearing was settled late yesterday afternoon, so I do not have court at 10 o'clock, so we can either take my case out of turn or proceed accordingly.
Well, we got it right now, so let's go ahead and do it.
Okay.
Okay, Dennis, do you agree this violation existed or occurred as stated in the notice of violation?
Your Honor, some of the items that are listed there are items related to ongoing vandalism that my clients have experienced at the property, like the fence and graffiti. And I do have a client rep, Mr. Kobe Betzalel, that can testify about their efforts. We did obtain a permit, or a permit was applied for the interior renovations and the rest of the structural work on April the 4th. And so it is a work in progress. It's a renovation of an old hotel. That some of the items that the staff is listed as violations are really ongoing acts of vandalism are beyond our control.
All right, are we in agreement that some of these violations existed or occurred?
Yes, sir.
Find the respondent in noncompliance. Mr. Inspector, how much time should reasonably be required for the respondent to come into compliance?
By the next cutoff.
Next cutoff is May 7, 2025. Can your client be in compliance by May 7, 2025?
If I could have a list of exactly what needs to be done to bring it into compliance, Your Honor?
Well, the notice of violation says unmaintained landscaping, boarded windows, dilapidated fencing, and peeling paint.
And if I could have my client testify as to the fencing has been repaired. That was vandalized. The windows will be part of the permit that's been applied for as of April the 4th.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Yes, ma'am.
We have a witness, and I have to swear them both in.
Go right ahead.
State your name.
Emily Nice.
And who's the respondent?
This
On
His
Zoom?
name is Kobe. His last name is Betzalel.
Mr. Betzel. Okay, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
I do. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's start with our inspector first. Mr. Inspector, how much time? Oh, you already told me. May 7, 2025. All right, hang on 1 second. So, Mr. Baer, how much time does your client believe would be a reasonable amount of time to bring these matters into compliance?
As far as the windows and the construction work, we're going to need 90 days. As far as any maintenance of the grounds, they have been painting the building as the graffiti occurs, but we can have the fence fixed by the May the 7th date. We have covered the pool as required by code enforcement and taken some other steps. If there's some additional landscaping we need to do, we can have that done by May 7th as well. But the windows and the actual interior work, the permitted work is going to take us a little bit longer.
Okay. Your name again?
Emily Nice.
Emelina
Nice.
Knight?
Nice.
Nice?
Nice. Yes.
Ms. Nice. What would you like to say, ma'am?
Well, I would just like to say, on behalf of the Seabreeze Neighborhood Watch Group, I am the chairman and I am representing many concerned residents in the area. We have been here often to speak about the conditions of the property. It's dangerous.
Excuse me. 999 Atlanta. Is this on the corner of University and A1A?
Yes, it is.
Oh, Dennis, give me a break.
Yes.
Are you serious? You know? Okay, I'm sorry. Let me back up and
Judge,
act like a professional.
I was...
Your client may as well have bought a neon sign that says, "Find me."
They
All right,
bought
let's
the
hear from
property.
Ms. Nice.
Judge,
Let's hear-
my clients bought the property from somebody else that had started the renovations. So they've taken over a prior project and they're taking it, basically gutting the entire thing and starting over. I've got the permit number. The permit has been applied for C-2504-040. So the permit is in process.
All right, let's hear from Ms. Nice.
Well, just in speaking to that fact, this owner bought the property with ready-to-go architectural plans. There is essentially no reason for this continual delay and years of excuses now. This property is not maintained. There is peeling paint on it. The fence does get damaged, yes, but if you put a sturdy fence on that, the likelihood of that certainly will decrease. This is an area right across the street from the beach. The parking lot is now being used unsupervised, which of course adds risk to the owner himself. But we as the residents have continued to suffer the dangers of this building attracting crime, and the trash, the neglect of it is obviously very visible on a daily basis. This property has never been in compliance since the owner bought it.
When did
And-
this guy buy it?
Pardon me?
When did this guy buy it? He's got to be the fifth or sixth owner that I can think of since I've been here. How long has he had it?
Was that March of 2023?
Dennis, when did your client acquire this property?
In 2023, I can have him testify, Your Honor, as to his involvement with the purchase and the renovation of the property, if you'd like to hear it.
Trust me, I'm familiar with this property. All right.
Yes,
done?
we went a long time with that pool uncovered. This has been nothing but a battle. And quite frankly, when I signed on as the chairperson for the Neighborhood Watch, long-term residents told me, oh, nothing will be done. You'll see through the hearings. I want to use your term, let's not kick the can down the road at one of the hearings. And essentially, what this amounts to is a couple of things here and there will be brought up and go through this entire special magistrate process. But the bottom line is nothing seems to be motivating this owner. So whether it's graffiti here or broken fence here, allowing trespassers, and certainly, of course, putting our first responders in danger, our police, it's just a never-ending cycle of bringing individual items before the special magistrate. And with a $25,000 lien on the property, it seems that perhaps an answer to motivate this owner into at least taking care of the daily maintenance would be to start enforcement of this lien, because as we stand here now, this is an ongoing cycle where this owner is, in our opinion, making a mockery of this process, because it entails bringing back each individual infarction and another 30 days, another 60 days worth of promises never kept.
Okay, Dennis, what are you proposing your client is going to do here to bring this into compliance?
Your Honor, as I said, we can have the fence in compliance by the May 7th date. We can have the property better maintained as far as clearing of the weeds and the outside vegetation. And as far as the permit, I have not seen the actual permit application. I don't know how long it's going to take the city to process it. And then we would have to commence the construction as far as the windows and the exterior are concerned. They have been painting over the graffiti. And again, if you want to hear from my client rep, I can have him address those issues.
What's that?
I'm normally, the city is not normally in a position to give advice, but since it's a citizen obligated to that allows police to trespass individuals who are doing graffiti or so forth on your property. You're not mandated to do this, it's optional. I just wanted to let you know that that's an option to help maintain safety and prevent any graffiti. If you contact the police department, they can explain to you more about that initiative. There's a couple different programs that they have, but basically we need someone to tell us to trespass. We can't just trespass because we don't know if that person has authorization unless you give us standing authorization to trespass people because they shouldn't be on the property at certain times or certain people. There's different programs. So I'm not sure if that's something you'd be interested in helping with the crime and graffiti, but.
Yes.
I just have one quick comment. Last year at this time, April 2024, city staff sent a letter to the owner admonishing him to take care of this property and to move forward with compliance. So it's not like this owner has not been aware of what it takes to keep this property safe.
Why did we decide to do another notice of violation in January? Was this property ever in compliance at any time?
No, sir, it's a different violation. This current violation is for having this property vacant and boarded up for over 120 days.
So compliance sounds to me like doing at least an exterior makeover of this entire property,
At least, yes, sir.
at a minimum.
Correct.
So, in addition, they have owned this property since March of 2023. We would just like to add that they've had this property for over 2 years and it's still a problem.
Okay, Dennis, what's your client got to say?
Toby?
Yes, so we've been working very hard and for a very long time to get all the plans ready. And by saying making the plans ready, so we were working with architect, with engineer, MEP. So we have all complete booklet of all architectural plans updated and ready for today's code, for 2025 code. And again, we had to redesign everything because everything inside was completely demolished. So everything inside has to be completely redone. All the exterior look and fixes had to be redone. For mechanicals of the pool, AC, electrical, plumbing, everything has completely had to be redone. So that's one of the reasons why it took a lot of time to get everything lined up with architect and engineers and all that stuff. So we got everything ready. Meanwhile, while all this was still working on the background, yes, I mean, we were attentive for any request that you had by covering the pool, by fixing the fence several times, by adding an internal fence. We have a routine landscaping guy that actually, mowing the lawn outside and inside. We're painting the graffiti, boarding up the windows when anything happens, when borders got loose or someone actually took them out. So we fixed that as it goes. We really try to do the best we can to keep everything in line and in order and in compliance while we were working on getting the permits done. And again, as Dennis just said, and I can confirm, the permit was submitted by our GC. Oh, and by the way, we also had another issue with another GC, Kalma Construction, which was supposed to be the initial GC working on that, which caused us for additional delays for not doing things as needed on time once we had all the plans ready. So now we have a different GC right now, which already submitted the plans, and he started to work on that and getting everything approved so we can start actually doing the work.
Okay, what are the plans for this property?
So the plans are actually to make it a boutique hotel.
And is that what you're telling me you already have the plans and engineering for?
Yeah, everything is complete, a complete set of
Okay, so if
everything
you
is
have
already
all the
ready.
plans and the engineering you need, what's the next step in the process? Obtaining a permit?
Yeah, basically we are waiting for the permit to be approved.
Have you
and-
applied for the permit?
Yes, yeah.
So you're waiting for a permit to do a complete remodel of this property?
Everything completely inside and outside.
And when did you submit your permit application?
Just last week, it was done. Yeah.
And I have the permit number, Your Honor, if you'd like that.
I'll take your word for it. And the permit application you've submitted is to do all this work reflected in these plans and engineered plans?
I believe so. I mean, that's what I instructed the GC, and the GC knows exactly what needs to be done. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue. First off, this is a new violation. That's all I can say. It's a new violation. And we found the respondent in noncompliance. The next step in the process is to set a compliance date. Instead of doing that, I'm going to continue the determination of a compliance date to our May 13 meeting. And at the May 13 meeting, I would like to see your plans. And at that point, you can let me know where you stand on the permit that you tell me you've already applied for. And at that point, perhaps we can discuss with a little more clarity how much time would reasonably be required for you to come into compliance. If I were convinced that you as the owner were actually going to remodel this eyesore and turn it into something nice, then I would take that
That's
into
great.
consideration. Anything short of that would not be good. So, I'm going to continue the determination of the compliance date to the May 13 meeting. We will have a progress report concerning the permit. You are welcome back to look over these plans and what have you yourself.
I've
if you're
seen them.
interested. And then, like I said, with that, if we can establish a compliance date, so be it. What I'm most interested in, if you're telling me you've already got plans, you've already got the intention, good intentions, you've already got the motivation, and you've already got the permit application in there, then I'll take your word for it when you tell me you're going to follow through on this, because this property has a horrific history. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to assume this is a new day, and we're going to clear up this unsightly corner once and for all. So, I will see you all on May 13th. We'll look at your plans. You can update us on the status of the permit, and then we'll go from there. Does that sound fair enough?
Sounds good.
Loud and clear, Judge.
Very good. We'll see you all May 13th.
Thanks, sir.
Right. Thank you.
Case number 2, 601 Butler Boulevard, LLC. Yes, sir. If you would please state your name.
Good morning, Fitzy Barocas.
I'm sorry, can you spell your last name?
Barrocas.
O-C-S.
AS, as in Sam.
Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Your affiliation with 601 Butler Boulevard, LLC.
I own it together with my uncle.
Okay. You agree these violations
Yes.
existed or occurred as stated in the notice of violation?
Yes.
Then I find the respondent in noncompliance. Mr. Inspector, how much time should reasonably be required for the respondent to come into compliance?
By the next cutoff.
Next cutoff is May 7, 2025. Do you think you can be in compliance by May 7, 2025?
I could certainly try my best. We got a lot of these items are done. We've been in touch via email, and Inspector John has been coming out and been in touch with Mikkel, who's there working. A lot of them are done, but we wanted to get them all clear at the same time. So the grades that you see in the picture. Thank you, John. The grates that you see in the pictures are finished. The gutters are installed at this point. The landscaping was done a few times throughout the violation process. We had the neighbors' trees that run along the side of the building all trimmed down, and then the screens have all been installed at this point. The plumbing. Do you want me to continue going? I don't want to waste time.
So, are you satisfied with the effort to date?
As of my reinspection yesterday, the landing has been repaired. Electrical wiring on the exterior has been corrected. The wiring on the hot water heater has been corrected. And the unmaintained landscaping is now currently being maintained. All other cited violations still remain. I have not seen the interior yet.
Okay, so you need to get in to see the interior?
Yes, sir.
All right, so get them in to see the interior, and I'll give you 60 days instead of 30. How's that sound?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Then you two can make the arrangements as far as the inspector getting into the inside, and I will require the respondent to come into compliance by June 4, 2025, or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Case number 4, Uzair Shuja. Anyone for the respondent? Not seeing a respondent, what say the city?
Danny Garcia with the City of Daytona Beach, credentials on file. The violations were dilapidated driveway, overgrown landscaping, damaged fence, damaged and unpainted soffits, no address numbers, damaged roof, rubbish and garbage. The certified receipt was not signed. It was posted on January 22nd, 2025 for a compliance due date for February 22nd, 2025. Site, the last re-inspection was done on March 3rd, 2025 for staff's recommended finding of non-compliance, compliance by next cutoff.
Noting the absence of the respondent based upon the testimony of our inspector as well as the photographs presented, I find the respondent in non-compliance and order the respondent to come into compliance by May 7, 2025, or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Case number 5, Florida, LLC. Anyone here for the respondent? Yes, sir. If you would state your name and be sworn.
James Ryan.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes, sir. Your affiliation with Florida, LLC?
Yes.
What?
I'm their agent.
Okay. You're authorized to speak on their behalf?
Yes.
Do you agree this violation existed or occurred as stated in the notice of violation?
Yes.
I find the respondent in non-compliance. Mr. Inspector, how much time should reasonably be required for the respondent to come into compliance?
Next cutoff.
City thinks you ought to be able to have this done by May 7th. What say you to that?
Yes, it can be done. We've actually had vendors there already within this last week working.
Okay.
And I'm sorry I was unable to reach out to you. I was actually in the hospital as well.
Get in touch with your inspector. It's always a good thing to do.
Yes.
If I may, sir, this is a police complaint. It was generated by the police. We need to get on the trespass arrest act program if we can do that. We haven't transient issues. The building is unsecured. We've had the rear door open, left open, and so the front. And as you can see in the pictures, they've been inside and sleeping and doing a lot more damage.
Okay. Were you listening to our attorney earlier as she was explaining?
Yes, I'm aware with that program. Yes.
Very good. All right, you might want to follow up on that.
Yes.
All right, I'll order the respondent to be in compliance by May 7, 2025, or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Case number 6, Plinio A. Sepulveda Torres. Anyone here for the respondent? Not seeing a respondent, what say the city?
Morning, Inspector Bosworth, credentials on file. All right, this case was field generated, opened on January 22nd of 2025 for overgrown vacant lot with trash and debris. First notification was on January 24th of 2025. Compliance was due by February 5th of 25. Last day of reinspection was April 4th. Result, non-compliance. There's been no contact with the owner. Staff requests a finding of non-compliance with compliance due next cutoff.
Noting the absence of the respondent based upon our inspector's testimony and the photographs presented, I find the respondent in non-compliance and order the respondent to come into compliance by May 7, 2025, or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Case number 7, the Pompey Land Trust dated March 16, 2010. Anyone here for the respondent? Not seeing a respondent, what say the city?
All right, this case was field generated, opened on January 21st of 2025, overgrown vacant lot with trash and debris. First notification was on January 27th of 2025. Compliance was due by February 6th of 2025. Last day of reinspection was April 7th. Result, non-compliance. There's been no contact with the owner. Staff requests a finding of non-compliance with compliance due next cutoff.
Noting the absence of a respondent, based upon our inspector's testimony and the photographs presented, I find the respondent in non-compliance and order the respondent to come into compliance by May 7, 2025, or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Case number 8, Cerberus Investments, LLC. Anyone here for the respondent? Not seeing a respondent, what say the city?
Our case was also field generated, opened on February 7th of 2025, overgrown vacant lot with trash and debris. First notification was on February 14th of 2025. The property was posted. Compliance was due by February 24th of 2025. Last day of reinspection was April 4th of 2025. Result, non-compliance. There's been no contact with the owner. Staff requests a finding of non-compliance with compliance due next cutoff.
Noting the absence of the respondent based upon our inspector's testimony and the photographs presented, I find the respondent in non-compliance and order the respondent to come into compliance by May 7, 2025, or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Case number 9, KCP Homes, LLC. Anyone here for the respondent? Not seeing a respondent, what say the city?
Inspector Ron Beatty, code compliance credentials are on file. This case was opened September 11th, 2024 as a field-generated case for dirt and grime. First notice was received September 16th, 2024. Compliance was due on October 17th, 2024. Last date of reinspection was April 4th, 2025, and the result was non-compliance. Contact has been made with the owner. Staff recommends a finding of non-compliance with compliance due by next cutoff.
That's the house we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Tidy looking little place. What's the problem? Unapproved parking lot?
No dirt and grime, sir. There were a few other violations that have been addressed. The dirt and grime, you'll see on that side of the house, which is the north side.
Okay.
And then on the face of the house, the fascia.
Gotcha. Okay. Noting the absence of the respondent, based upon the testimony of our inspector and the photographs presented, I find the respondent in non-compliance. Order the respondent to come into compliance by May 7, 2025, or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Case number 10, Eaglite Real Estate, LLC. I believe we have a respondent appearing by Zoom.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yes, ma'am. If you would please state your name and be sworn by our secretary.
Erica Timms.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, who is Eaglite Real Estate, LLC? Everything in my package says Vishnu Limited.
Oh, I don't know which.
Missing something?
Huh. Oh, the number is wrong.
Pardon?
That's case 11. It's my book's the same way.
Oh, is it?
Oh, it's here for the imposition of a fine. Okay. Yes, ma'am, your affiliation with Eagle Light Real Estate LLC?
The business manager, sir.
I'm sorry, what now?
The business manager?
Okay. This matter's here for the imposition of a fine, so let's hear from our inspector.
The respondent was first notified on August 12, 2024. Since the last hearing, I have had contact with the owner. There has been some progress towards obtaining funds to pay the pending permit fees. Staff has recommended to amend this case to the next cutoff.
Okay, the inspector is suggesting I should amend our current order of noncompliance to allow you to May 7, 2025 to come into compliance rather than fining you. What say you to that?
I would appreciate that, sir. We are in the process of refinancing another property to pull equity to pay the fines. We just got issued, not fines, the permit fees. We just got issued the permit fee on February 28th, and then our first time in front of you was March 10th, I believe. And so since February 28th, we've been working with a finance company. We are within days of finding out what our closing date is. And once we close on that property and pull equity, we'll be able to pay the permits.
Very good. All right, then I will amend our current order of noncompliance to allow the respondent to come into compliance by May 7, 2025, or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
Case number 11, Vishnu Limited and MAA Shantoshi. Is there anyone here for the respondent?
Alana Smith with Cobb Cole Law Firm, 1 Daytona Boulevard.
Okay, I have that we are here for a progress report and to set a compliance date. So you getting ready to give me a progress report?
That is correct.
All right.
So yeah, we are set to, the site is on track for opening in August 2025, and that's in accordance with our contract with the Marriott. So some updates from the last time we were here is all windows and storefront have been installed. Interior framing is 95% complete. Drywall installation is also 95% complete. Fire sprinklers are all installed and approved. Mechanical, electric, and plumbing is complete. Elevator installation is scheduled for May. And then the interior paint and finishes will begin in the next few weeks.
And opening is scheduled for August of this year?
That is correct.
Okay. What say the city?
All right. They were first notified on May 30th, 2020. Since the last hearing, as you said, they continue to progress and work under permit. Due to the amount of time between now and the opening, I believe it was August 30th was the date that they gave. We'd like to have them come back in July for one final progress report, just so we can make sure we still are going to be on that timeline.
Okay, what'd you say, a July progress report?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your progress report. We will forego for the time being setting a compliance date. Sounds like everybody's satisfied with the progress that's being made. I'll order this matter be returned on the July 8, 2025 meeting for the purpose at that time of establishing a compliance date. All right? All right, good luck to you. Case number 12, S&O Investment USA, LLC. Anyone here for the respondent? Not seeing a respondent, say the city.
Inspector Curtis Wiggins, Code Compliance, Christians on file. Respondent was first notified of violation February the 16th, 2024. Since March hearing, permit has not been issued. I've had contact with the owner. The last date of reinspection was April 8th, 2025. Staff recommends compliance by May cutoff.
Okay, I don't understand. So where are we? Work without permit. Do they have the permits they need?
Well, he submitted the paperwork that they was wanting, the permits and
Back in
licensing.
March?
Yes, in March.
Okay.
And it still need to be reviewed.
All right.
By permits and licensing.
Okay. And so what were you proposing we do now?
Compliance by May cutoff. So hopefully we'll have the permit by then. And he can, I guess, demolish that part that needs to be demolished, that part of that building, that unit that he was working on. And once that is done, actually, the case will be closed.
Very good. All right, then I will amend our current order of noncompliance. There we go. I will amend our current order of noncompliance to allow the respondent until May 7, 2025 to come into compliance or be returned to the special magistrate consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Case number 13, Pinewood Cemetery and Michael J. Forrest, Secretary. Is there anyone here for the respondent? Not seeing a respondent. What say the city?
Good morning, John Stinson, Code Inspector of the City, and 12 cases on file. This respondent was first notified on 16 October 2024. They were cited for the unmaintained retaining wall. I've had one contact with the property's superintendent. The cemetery, there has been no progress. City is asking for the imposition of a fine of $100 per day to be capped at $15,000.
There's somebody who's actually in charge of that cemetery?
Yes, sir.
They're not in it?
Hey. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not 15,000. The max was 20.
And has the respondent attempted to communicate at all?
No, sir. I spoke with the superintendent at the beginning of the case. He said he was going to get right on it. He's the one who opens and closes it every day. As you can see from photographs, that has not yet happened. I've had to post the property as well.
Very well. All right, then based upon noting the absence of the respondent, based upon the testimony of our inspector as well as the photographs presented, I'm going to fine the respondent a sum of $100 per day commencing April 3, 2025, and that fine will continue to accrue each day thereafter until the amount of the fine has reached the sum of $20,000 or the property is in compliance. Case number 14, Uzair Shuja. Is there anyone here for the respondent? Not seeing a respondent. What say the city?
Inspector Garcia, the respondent was first notified of all the violations on November 13, 2024. Since the last hearing, I've had no contact with the owner. The property is occupied. There has been no progress made, and staff's recommending a fining of $200 a day, capped at $20,000. And he was a no-show last hearing also.
Noting the absence of the respondent, based upon our inspector's testimony and the photographs presented, I'm fining the respondent the sum of $200 per day commencing April 3, 2025, and that fine will continue to accrue each day thereafter until the property is in compliance or the amount of the fine has reached the sum of $20,000. Case number 15, Renee Richardson. Anyone here for the respondent? Yes, ma'am. If you would please state your name and be sworn.
Renee Richardson?
Swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, this matter here for the imposition of a fine, so let's hear from the city.
Good morning, Sarah Kirk, Inspector with the city. My credentials are on file. Since the last hearing, there hasn't been any progress. However, I have had contact with Ms. Richardson and Ms. Tolliver in the redevelopment department with the city. Ms. Richardson is working with redevelopment on a grant, and it's under review right now. So we'd like to ask to amend 60 days to the June cutoff for compliance.
What say Ms. Richardson?
That's fine with me because we're working with the city to get the grant to do the roof. So I have the application already in and she's working on it. She told me it'll be the end of this month before I will know anything and get the funds available. So
Okay.
60 days is perfect.
All right, and what am I doing at the end of 60 days? Am I bringing this back to review the imposition of a fine, or are we talking about amending our current order of noncompliance?
I would say amend the order of noncompliance.
All right, then, based on what appears to be a stipulation among the parties here, I'll go ahead and amend our current order of noncompliance to allow the respondent until June 4, 2025 to be in compliance or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Case number 16, Michael Rich. So, if you would please state your name and be sworn.
Diane Myers Miller.
I'm sorry, say your name again?
Diane Myers Miller.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And your affiliation with the respondent?
I am the property manager for Michael Rich.
Okay. This matter for the imposition of a fine, so let's hear from the city. What say the city?
Okay. Since the last hearing, they have had progress. First notification was 9/5/24. Since the last hearing, I have had contact. There has been progress. Everything has been completed with the exception of the after-the-fact permit for the window. We would like to ask to amend till the next cutoff for compliance.
Is this like the tiniest house I've ever seen, or is it the end of a unit?
It's actually pretty big. It's a duplex. It's lengthwise, it's a long building. Yep.
All right, anyway, she's proposing we amend your compliance date to May 7th. What say you to that?
That's fine.
All right, then I will amend our current order of noncompliance to allow the respondent until May 7, 2025 to come into compliance or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Case number 17, Shafat and Carol M. Ahmed. Is there anyone here for the respondent?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. and Mrs. Ahmed, they're ill. We met with them early part of last week. So in their absence, I'm ready to present on their behalf.
Go right ahead.
Once again, good morning. Inspector Roosevelt Butler, credentialed on file with the City of Daytona Beach. As it pertains to 755 Derbyshire, the respondent was first notified on August the 28th, 2024. Since April court proceedings, I've had contact with both the property manager and the property owner. Per the property manager, they have identified a contractor to complete the work. She's out of town at this time, will be returning shortly. Staff requests to the June cutoff.
All right. Based upon our inspector's presentation, I will amend our current order of noncompliance to allow the respondent until June 4, 2025 to come into compliance or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of $1,000 per day thereafter. Case number 18, Shafat and Carol M. Ahmed.
As pertains to 1121 Mason Avenue, the respondent was first notified on August 13, 2024. Since April court proceedings, I've had contact with the property owner and manager. And the building it's painted. To see it looks beautiful. They have one more thing to address. staff request to amend to the next cutoff, and it should be completed.
Based upon our inspector's presentation, I will amend our current order of noncompliance to allow the respondent till May 7, 2025 to come into compliance or be returned to the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day thereafter. That's the building where his practice was on Mason?
Yes, sir.
And so they painted that building?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess I just haven't driven by it lately. Great, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, case number 20, 1995 Big Island Trust, August 8, 2020, and Tyler Anthony Vasquez.
Morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. If you would please state your name and be sworn.
Anthony Vasquez.
I'm sorry, say your last name again.
Anthony Vasquez.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, this matter is here for the imposition of a fine. Let's hear from our inspector first.
Inspector Itani Compliance, credentials are on file. Respondent was first notified on October 3rd, 2024. Since the March hearing, I have had contact with the owner, and there's been no progress for the violations. Last inspection was April 4th, 2025. The last inspection was April 4th, 2025. The result was non-compliance. Staff recommends a fine of $100 a day with a cap of $15,000.
Okay, Mr. Vasquez, what's going on?
Well, sir, when I was first noticed of the violation in November, we went out and recleaned the property up. We abated all the weeds, took the boards off the windows. We've had a great problem there with vagrancies, people breaking in, prostitution, such not, with the high vacancy or the high homeless that we have here in Daytona Beach. That makes a hard impact on the residents and the property owners. So we removed the boards. It's posted. It's a trespass arrest site. I've hired an architect. He's doing the as-builts now. I've hired. I have another property on Wild Olive, and it had asbestos siding on it, which we're applying for permits for now at the moment. But when the comments came back, it said, "How are you going to address the asbestos siding as far as the exterior remodel?" So we hired an asbestos abatement company that came out about 2 weeks ago. They've removed the asbestos siding at Wild Olive and Aura. Now you can see on the upper levels that you see the black paper because that was asbestos siding at one point. We've had that removed.
Back up.
Yes.
So along the way here, you've had to deal with asbestos that wasn't part of the notice of violation?
Correct.
We're talking about this property, right?
Yes, sir.
And what are you telling me I can see from this photograph that shows you've been working on asbestos? You said some sort of black paper?
Yeah, you see there on the second story portion.
Is that, you mean on the fascia? Is that the fascia?
That would be on the wall there.
Okay.
Yes. That was all asbestos. We've hired an abatement company. They removed all the asbestos, also on the rear of the building. And
who told you you had to remove the asbestos?
that was part of when you apply for the exterior remodel, the comments came back from the city, how are you going to address the asbestos siding? So our solution to address asbestos siding was to hire an asbestos abatement company, which they've came out in the last week, I believe they completed the asbestos abatement.
Okay, go on.
So I've hired an architect. He's doing as-built on it now, and then we're going to proceed with the full architectural plans for a complete interior-exterior remodel.
All right, at what point are we going to be in compliance with this notice of violation?
For plans from the architect in about 2 weeks, and then we'll be seeing. I filed a notice of commencement.
There are elements here that aren't going to be completed until the construction is done.
As far as the windows are concerned, there's a great deal of termite damage and dry rot, so there'll need to be some reframing done on the exterior of the building in order to put the windows in.
All right, what's the next milestone in the process after today?
Next milestone would be to obtain the building permits and to start the structural evaluation of how to proceed with it. Because there is, it being an old building, there's a significant amount of termite damage to that building, so we need to evaluate structurally how to proceed with it.
Is this building occupied?
No, sir.
So it sounds as though, in an effort to try to come into compliance, he's now discovered he has asbestos he has to deal with and has been dealing with. And it sounds as though the windows, which we previously only asked, well, we asked him to deal with the boarded up windows, so I guess he is. Okay.
I had boards covering the windows because of the homelessness problems continuing to break in. So we removed the boards, and that's what you see now.
Sir, I just want to clarify, the permits that he's applied for is actually for his Wild Olive property.
Correct.
This property, no permits have been applied for.
Okay, well.
And he had asbestos at Wild Olive, so he sent the company to Aura because he thought maybe that they were having the same problem.
Which we
So
did.
we're talking about two different properties at the same time. So there's no permits or anything has been applied for this particular property.
Okay. Is that Aura?
Yes.
Does that have asbestos?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you got any permits to do any of the work you're talking about for Aura?
I filed a notice of commencement for a contractor to begin the work. I hired an architect to do the plans, and we'll be filing for permits for Aura and Wild Olive.
All right. So as far as Aura is concerned, what's the next milestone? Getting a permit?
Yes, sir.
And when do you expect to have a permit?
I would say in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Waiting on the architectural plans to be completed.
Okay. All right, then I am going to continue this matter to our May 13 meeting. So on May 13, they will be here asking for a fine again. And hopefully you're going to tell me, I've got all my plans done, I've done my permit applications, and maybe you'll even be able to say I've got a permit.
Yes, sir.
And if I think progress is being made, and if I think you're going above and beyond that, that's music to my ears.
Thank you.
That's all I'll tell you. That's the only promise I'll make you. If, on the other hand, we meet on May 13th and we're no further down the road than we are today, that'll be another matter.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so I will continue this matter to the May 13, 2025 meeting, and at that point, we will call it imposition of a fine / progress report.
Thank you.
Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Good enough. Good luck to you.
Good day.
One more time.
You too.
You have one more case. We're going to talk about Wild Olive now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, case 21. I guess this is Wild Olive. All right, Madam Inspector, this matter here is also here for the imposition of a fine. Is everything about the same as what we just talked about, or is this totally different?
Well, I wasn't asking for a fine this time. I'm just asking to amend to the next cut.
Okay. All right, what's going on with Wild Olive? The same thing?
Same thing. As you can see, all the asbestos siding has been removed, all the black paper is exposed. But now that the asbestos siding has been removed, the termite damage has been revealed. And that front house probably will be demolished because of the extensive termite damage.
So, okay.
You can see all the that's all termite damage. The whole house is like that underneath that black paper.
So what's the game plan?
I'm going to go downstairs after this meeting, and I'm going to see what the city will allow me to rebuild there, because I have 4 units there. And I need to determine, the back unit is a 3-unit, and I need to determine the stability of the back unit, but for sure the front building will be demolished. And if the city will allow me to build a brand new fourplex
Is that unit occupied?
No, sir.
All right. So it sounds like I'm going to return you on May 13th to talk about this one as well.
Yes.
By the way, with regard to both properties, they are not to be rented or otherwise occupied until they're in compliance.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Case number 22, Florida LLC. Didn't we already do Florida LLC? Florida LLC. Okay, would you please state your name again for the record?
James Ryan.
This matter is here for the imposition of a fine. What say our inspector?
Respondent was first notified on October 16th, 2024. Since the March hearing, I have had no contact with the owner and there has been no progress. Last inspection was April 4th, 2025, and the result was non-compliance. Staff recommends a fine of $200 a day with a cap of $15,000. This house has actually been condemned since last hearing.
What has been condemned?
The house has been condemned since the last hearing.
So what does that do to our notice of violation?
We just proceed with the case.
Let's hear from you.
I have a lot of information. We had an eviction of property. The tenant did finally move out. Right before we were getting ready to start work on the property to one violation, squatters moved it. The police department would not remove them because supposedly they had a lease. So we couldn't do the squatter law on them. I went out there again and called the police and they told me the same thing. Actually, last week I drove by the property and I seen that they boarded up for demolition. I called the number that was a piece of paper. They delayed it for 30 days. They were getting an extra, structural engineer report done. Someone's coming out to do the inspection. Over the weekend, all that trash was removed. So now the house is empty again. But the problem is, it's squatters keep on breaking in and damaging the property.
So you are planning on demolishing this property
No,
or
it's not
not
gonna get
demolishing
demolished.
this property?
I'm getting a structural engineer report. When that's done, the city told me to go ahead and get the permits filed.
Permits to do what?
To rehab the inside. And we have a roofer that's going out there to give us our quote on the roof as well.
And I assume if the property's been condemned, you're not allowed to do anything with it for the time being.
Not until I do the structural engineer report and submit that to the city and tell them what our plans are. But the trash was emptied out already.
You mentioned a problem with squatters. Is this part of a trespass arrest site?
I'm going there from here to take care of that one as well. I'm going to do both properties at the same time.
Mr. Vakel, if I may, this property has been hit twice with search warrants since October last year, when this case was first opened, and the property owner was aware of it. So what he's doing now should have no bearing on the fine that the inspector is seeking.
If I may add, when this case first started, it was a tenant complaint, and I did speak to Mr. James about the tenant complaint, and he told me that they were going to be fixing the issues, and the tenant ended up moving out because it never happened, and then there was search warrant after search warrant.
And the squatter moved in as well. And
After
then we couldn't get back into the house.
So my first pictures were from the tenant complaint, and then the pictures from March were from when the search warrant was completed, and still the same, actually worse.
Mm-hmm.
The property had gotten worse.
Why was the property condemned?
The condition of the inside at the moment.
Well, I mean, I
And
see a
there's
lot of
structural-
trash, but what does that got to do with
there's some
condemning?
Structural disrepair on the outside walls. If you look at that picture on the right side, you can see the inside of the wall. The roof is, the ceiling caved in the bathroom in the back.
Okay, and you are getting a structural engineer to do what?
We have to get a report done on the property to see exactly what needs to be done. So it can be saved and not demolished.
And this has been a problem property for a while.
Yes, it
I just
has.
want to make sure.
Yes, it has. I'm
And
aware
the
of that.
property owner has been aware.
Yes.
How long have you owned the property?
I'm not sure when they had purchased the property. I don't have that date.
Okay, you're wanting me to fine him $200 a day to a maximum of $15,000. But he can't come into compliance because the property's been condemned. So how do I give him the opportunity to come into compliance in order to save money on his fine when he can't come into compliance?
He can come to compliance.
How so?
What he needs to do is, whatever plans he has, he needs to get permits and licensing. If they approve them, they will lift that condemnation. But until he does that, the condemnation is going to stay in place.
I would like to add that this warranty deed is dated July 26, 2023.
Okay. All right. I'm going to fine the respondent the sum of $200 per day, commencing April 3, 2025, and that fine will continue to accrue until the property is in compliance or the amount of the funds reach the sum of $15,000. Okay, I'm learning, apparently there is some recourse, notwithstanding the condemnation, that you can pursue. And it sounds like you know more about it than I do, because you're already pursuing it.
Yes.
So, if you think it's worth the effort, then I guess continue pursuing it, and we'll see how it all shakes out.
Okay.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Case number 23, MGB Real Estate Investment Corporation. Anyone here for the respondent? Not seeing a respondent, what say the city?
All right, Inspector Boster, credentials on file with the city. Respondent was first notified on November 23rd of 2024. Since last month's hearing, no contract progress. Staff requests a fine of $250 a day with a max fine of $15,000.
Noting the absence of the respondent based upon the testimony of our inspector and the photographs presented, I'm fining the respondent the sum of $250 per day commencing April 3, 2025, and that fine will continue to accrue each day thereafter until such time as the property is in compliance or the amount of the fine has reached the sum of $15,000. Case number 24, LAD Trust Holdings LLC and Jason Herman. Is there anyone for the respondent? Not seeing a respondent, what say the city?
Respondent was first notified on January 23rd of 2025. Since last month's hearing, there's been no contact or progress. Staff requests a fine of $250 a day with a max fine of $15,000.
Noting the absence of the respondent based upon our inspector's testimony and the photographs presented, I'm fining the respondent the sum of, what did you say again?
$250 a day with a max of $15,000.
$250 per day, commencing April 3, 2025, and that fine will continue to accrue each day thereafter until the property is in compliance or the amount of the fine has reached the sum of $15,000. Case number 25, LAD Trust Holdings LLC and Jason Herman. Not seeing a respondent, what say the city?
The respondent was first notified on January 23rd of 2025. Since last month's hearing, there's been no contact or progress. Staff requests a fine of $250 a day with a max fine of $15,000.
Noting the absence of the respondent based upon our inspector's testimony and the photographs presented, I'm fining the respondent the sum of $250 per day commencing April 3, 2025. And that fine will continue to accrue each day thereafter until the property is in compliance and the amount of the fine has reached the sum of $15,000. Case number 26, Arthur J. Rockwell and Robin Hardman. Anyone here for the respondent? Not seeing respondent, what say city?
The respondent was first notified on October 1st of 2024. Since last month's hearing, there's been no contact or progress. Staff requests a fine of $250 a day with a maximum fine of $15,000.
Noting the absence of the respondent, based upon our inspector's testimony and the photographs presented, I'm fining the respondent the sum of $250 per day commencing April 3, 2025. That fine will continue to accrue each day thereafter until the property is in compliance or the amount of the fine has reached the sum of $15,000. Case number 27, Arthur J. Rockwell and Robin Hardman. Not seeing a respondent, what say the city?
Respondent was first notified on October 1st of 2024. Since last month's hearing, no contact or progress. Staff requests a fine of $250 a day with a maximum fine of $15,000.
Noting the absence of the respondent, based upon our inspector's testimony, the photographs presented, I'm finding the respondent the sum of $250 per day, commencing April 3, 2025, and that fine will continue to accrue each day thereafter until the property is in compliance or the amount of the fine has reached the sum of $15,000. Case number 28, Victory Temple of God Incorporated. Anyone here from the respondent? Not seeing a respondent, what say the city?
Mark Jones, my credentials are on file with the city. This case is a repeat violation of case SMG 012212 that was found in noncompliance on January 10th, 2022. This repeat violations are unsecured buildings, damaged accessory structure, damaged roof and walls, and trash and debris. Code continues to receive complaints from residents about this area, with transients using the building. The condition of the buildings and the trash and debris remain, and this property has become a blight to the community. All permits on this property have been closed or canceled. Staff is recommending a fine of $1,000 for each site visit on March 17th, 2025, March 25th, 2025, and April 7th, 2025.
April 4th or April 7th?
April 7th, sorry. I was on the property yesterday.
So you're looking for $1,000 per day for those 3 inspections?
Yes, sir.
All right. Noting the absence of the respondent, based upon the testimony of our inspector, photographs presented, and the fact that this is a repeat violation, I'm fining the respondent $1,000 for each of the 3 inspections identified for March 17th, March 25th, and April 7th, for a total of $3,000 in fines. Anything further? That do it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Case number 29, RE Equity Investment Group LLC and JJ Equity LLC. Is there anyone here for the respondent? Not seeing a respondent, what say the city?
Respondent was notified on July 7th, 2023. Since last hearing, I've not had any contact from the property owners. The last inspection was Friday, April 4th, 2025. The property is not being maintained. There is still trash and debris in the parking lot. Staff recommends a fine of $200 a day with a cap of $20,000.
Okay, let's slow down here. I got a little disjointed. Case number 29, RE Equity Investment Group. Refresh my memory. What was the violation?
Well, the violation originally was for unmaintained landscaping, broken windows, damaged exterior walls, painting, electrical wires, trash and debris, and a damaged fence. This is the old funeral home. Their last inspection was on July 8, 2024, when a stop work order was placed because they were doing work that did not conform with their permit. When we were here and they were here, would have been probably 3 or 4 months ago, we requested that they maintain the property or they would be here for the imposition of a fine. If you go through some of the photos, if you would keep going to the fence, this right here, to go back, that's April 4th, 2025, and if you go to the next photo, that's January 6th, 2025, and it hasn't been removed in all that time. This is a very visible intersection right there on the corner. It's just not being maintained.
Okay. All right, noting the absence of the respondent, based upon our inspector's testimony and photographs presented, I'm finding the respondent with $200 per day commencing April 3, 2024, and that fine will I think I meant to say April 2025. Finding the respondent $200 per day commencing April 3, 2025, and that fine will continue to accrue each day thereafter until the property's in compliance or the amount of the fines reaches the sum of $20,000. Is that it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Lien Review 1, Ava M. Wright and Michael Wright, 117 South Martin Luther King Boulevard. Yes, sir. If you would please state your name and be sworn.
Yes, my name is Michael Wright.
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we have an order imposing fine and lien effective April 5, 2018, $200 a day, $1,311.62, compliance March 12, $1,311.62, compliance March 12, 2025. So this goes back to 2018? Is that what I'm reading?
Yes, sir. And we have met with the property owner and agreed to a reduction down $5,000 for this violation.
Okay, your name again?
Michael Wright.
Michael Wright. All right, Mr. Wright, are you in agreement that you and the city will resolve this matter for the sum of $5,000?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and so be it. Then, in accordance with the stipulation of the parties, I will reduce the fine and lien to the sum of $5,000, subject to that being paid. Did you discuss any terms of payment, or is the standard 30 days coming into play?
The standard 30 days, but we also discussed that he can work with the board secretary should that need to be discussed with payments or so forth.
All right. I was going to say $5,000 subject to being paid within 30 days or subject to whatever arrangements you can make with the city regarding that. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Good enough. Now, we have lien review number 2, 117 South Martin Luther King Boulevard. This lien is in the amount of $23,250.49. And have we had any discussions regarding that one?
Yes, sir. We agreed to reduce the lien to the $5,000.
Agreed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, once again, with regard to lien review 2, this is a set of 2 liens, specifically dealing with 117 South Martin Luther King Boulevard. It is my understanding the parties similarly entered into a settlement whereby the property or the respondent will pay the sum of $5,000 to the city within 30 days. And with that understanding, I reduced the fine lien to the amount of $5,000, subject to that being within 30 days. If it's not paid when it's supposed to be, then these liens remain in effect. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other business to be brought before the special magistrate? What's happening with the people down there at the funeral home? Are things slowing down all of a sudden?
It seems to be that way. Did a lot of work not conforming to what was on the permit. And they've had to resubmit, they have resubmitted recently for revisions to their drawings. They were returned again to them. They need structural engineering to go in and verify what they did is up to code. They talked about removing some of the area where they went on with their footprint was supposed to be. It's going quite slowly, but they are seemingly trying to get something done.
All right, and with regard to the building on A1A and University. I don't know why, but I seem to remember dealing with countless owners when it comes to that property. Maybe I'm hallucinating. I didn't know the current owner had been there since 2023. But do we not have already any number of fines in place on that property?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And if they're talking about building something, do those fines necessarily have to be attended to? I would assume so.
Yes, sir. But if they submit for permits that would correct the violations, they would be able to get permits. And in essence, once they got done with the complete remodel, the property would be into compliance.
Okay.
But back when they first bought the property, they came and said this exact same thing, that they were submitting plans. And said, 2-3 years later, and they're now doing it again, or at least telling us again.
Okay, and those are the plans I told them to have here in May.
Correct.
Okay. Can anybody tell me what's being built right next to Brown and Brown? Seems like I asked this question last month. I still don't know. The big concrete building that's got the huge crane in front of it?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not either. Usually they put a picture or something out front to tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody told me it was going to be an apart building. I'm just amazed that there's activity on, not that I'm a know-it-all, I'm amazed there's activity on Beach Street. Pardon?
Are we still on the record?
No, we're adjourned.